Your one click on the subscribe button makes a huge difference. Thank you for your kind support.
Landline, 2025. A Nigerian thriller that plunges us into an intense atmosphere from the very first frame, grips viewers with its surreal premise and sophisticated narrative structure. The movie begins with an ominous mix of sound and visuals. Water running, a tension-filled environment, and a child calling out for her mother. Tafunmi's voice echoes with urgency in the dark, foreboding surroundings. The foreboding music sets the tone for the film, immersing the audience in a dread-filled anticipation of the events to come. This opening, where a mother frantically searches for her child, creates an immediate empathetic response as we are drawn into her fear and confusion. The pendulum of calmness marked by simple domestic activities swings abruptly into chaos, layered with complex emotions, trauma, and a sense of loss, an unrelenting motif that ties the entire film together. The protagonist, a military sergeant named Kola, is introduced to us as a loving yet preoccupied husband. He is deeply committed to his wife, Shalwa, who is pregnant with their child. Their interactions are warm yet peppered with the everyday challenges of routine life as they navigate the domestic adjustments of impending parenthood. Shalwa's apprehensions about taking sleeping pills due to her pregnancy and her humorous complaint about Kola supporting her fitness endeavors reveal the tenderness and playfulness in their relationship. On the surface, this family appears normal and content, but the brilliance of Landline lies in the subtle unease threaded throughout these exchanges. This foreboding is further amplified by technical nuances like the ominous ticking of the clock in the background or the strained reception on the phone. Little details that hint at the unraveling reality to come. As Kola steps out for his routine exercise, viewers are entertained with small, heartfelt exchanges between the couple. However, these seemingly mundane moments are loaded with dramatic irony. Shalwa's playful mockery, her complaints about her husband's eating habits, and her excitement about their growing baby serve as anchors for her character. She emerges as a strong yet grounded individual, deeply rooted in her relationship with Kola. Her comments about the AC batteries and her decision to enjoy the cooler air downstairs add a layer of realism to her character. These details, while seemingly trivial, play a critical role as the story unfolds. Through Shalwa, the audience becomes invested in the stakes of the narrative, and her physical vulnerability as a pregnant woman heightens the tension. The domestic setting, which should be a place of safety and comfort, becomes a playground of terror, reflecting one of the film's major themes, the intrusion of chaos into stability. Foreshadowing is skillfully woven into the screenplay, creating an undercurrent of dread. Shalwa's casual joke about lying down in the middle of the road to escape the heat aligns with the fatalistic loop at the heart of the story. Similarly, the repeated focus on Kola's breathing, his playful banter about his fatigue, and his refusal to back down from challenges subtly prefigure his dogged attempts to save his wife in the coming paradoxical timeline. The seemingly disjointed structure begins to show its methodical brilliance as we dive deeper into the sequence of events. Every detail, no matter how inconspicuous, carries weight. Kola receives a sudden call on a mysterious old landline. The jarring, almost intrusive nature of the ringing phone amidst his workout mirrors the abrupt nature of the catastrophic events about to unfold. The caller's voice, cryptic yet commanding, shocks Kola in its familiarity and authority. The voice leads him to a horrifying revelation. Shalwa is in danger, and only his actions can save her from a killer. This marks the first loop, where Kola, filled with panic and disbelief, rushes back home, only to witness the unthinkable, the murder of his beloved wife. The despair of watching one's loved one perish creates a knot of emotional anguish in viewers, blurring the line between perception and reality. The story's central paradox, Kola reliving the same night in a loop, is introduced after this initial tragedy. Each call on the old landline serves two purposes. It propels the plot forward and adds layers to the themes of guilt, duty, and helplessness. The sci-fi mechanism of time loops, though a familiar trope, is skillfully nuanced here. Unlike many other films in this genre, Landline doesn't immediately provide Kola with agency over the loop. He is a pawn, repeatedly thrust into existential torment as he attempts different ways to outwit fate. His military training, which under normal circumstances would make him a capable protector, becomes almost impotent in the face of the loop's relentless control of events. Cola's character blossoms in complexity as he navigates these repeated scenarios. At first, the loops reinforce his frustration and helplessness. It is agonizing for both Cola and the audience to watch Shailwa die in different ways, regardless of Cola's interventions. The repetitive cycle of death and failure mirrors Cola's psychological deterioration. His growing desperation to circumvent fate becomes an emotional tether for audiences. Ethically, Landline also explores the question: how far would someone go to save the one they love? Cola's actions, from his increasingly aggressive attempts to protect Shailwa to his eventual breakdowns, capture the raw spectrum of human resilience and frailty. The use of the landline as a narrative device is both literal and symbolic. On a literal level, it is the trigger for the loop and Cola's connection to the cryptic voice guiding him. Symbolically, however, the landline is a bridge between time and destiny. In an increasingly wireless age, where lines have been cut figuratively and literally, the landline represents something ancient and immutable, an unbroken connection to the past and a tool of predestination. It also evokes nostalgia, contrasting with the modern setting of Cola and Shailwa's home life, creating an eerie juxtaposition between the familiar and the uncanny. This balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary is a hallmark of the film's atmospheric appeal. The antagonist, a relentless killer, is introduced as a shadowy figure whose motivations remain obscured for much of the movie. This lack of defined backstory for the killer amplifies the terror. This individual exists purely to destroy Cola's world. The cold, calculated manner in which he executes Shailwa multiple times suggests he is not only a physical threat but a manifestation of the inevitability of loss. The recurring theme, no matter how much he tries, she always dies, becomes a haunting refrain, tying us to Cola's despair. The killer's elusive nature also raises questions about his connection to Cola and Shailwa. Is he merely an agent of chaos, or does he personify an intimate betrayal? The script expertly plays with perception and reality. There are several moments in the narrative when Cola's experiences begin to blur the lines between his real memories, the reality of the present moment, and the possible future dictated by the loop. The visual storytelling enhances this duality. Dim lighting, flickering shadows, and abrupt sound cuts create an environment where time itself feels unstable. Cola becomes an unreliable narrator, not because he lies but because the repetitive trauma warps his own sense of truth. The tension builds to a crescendo as he begins to unravel not only the mechanics of the loop, but also the deeper emotional truths that tie him to Shailwa and their unborn child. Eventually, Cola's determination drives him to discover a deeper plot twist. The mysterious voice calling him isn't a random stranger. It is revealed to be a future version of himself, a desperate attempt to rewrite history and circumvent the pain of Shailwa's loss. This revelation adds layers of complexity to Cola's character. He is both the protagonist and a failed savior trapped in a cycle of penance. His inability to save Shailwa in the present reflects his possible future, a man consumed by guilt and driven to alter time at all costs. The ending of Landline is particularly poignant and thought-provoking. Cola's final loop represents a climactic effort. Unlike his earlier panic-stricken attempts, this iteration is marked by a calm resolve. Cola strategizes every move, calculating variables with newfound clarity. As the night unfolds, it seems he might have succeeded in thwarting the killer this time. In a heart-stopping sequence, Cola manages to overpower the killer and rescue Shailwa. For a fleeting moment, there is relief, an almost tangible sense of victory. However, the final twist yanks the rug from beneath the audience. Despite his heroic efforts, fate intervenes in a new way, and Shailwa perishes once again, leaving Cola in shambles. The thematic core of the ending lies in its bleak yet brutally honest exploration of human limitations. No matter how much we fight, some tragedies remain inexorable. The loops aren't just a narrative device. They are a metaphor for the cycles of grief and trauma that victims endure perpetually. Kola's never-ending battle to save Sheilwa mirrors the emotional struggle of accepting loss and moving forward. The film ends with Kola, broken yet resolute, holding the landline one last time as the voice repeats the call, signaling that the loop will begin again. By refusing to provide a neatly wrapped resolution, Landline differentiates itself from other films in the sci-fi thriller genre. It invites comparisons to works like Edge of Tomorrow or Groundhog Day. But where those movies conclude with redemption or resolution, Landline opts for a darker, more introspective take. It aligns closer thematically with films like The Butterfly Effect, where tampering with destiny often has devastating consequences. Symbolism is rife throughout the film. The landline is fate, Tufunmi's echoing call as an omen of unresolved guilt, and the cyclical imagery of clocks and spirals contribute to the richness of the narrative. These elements underscore the film's primary message. While humans may yearn to control the future, some forces remain untamed, requiring acceptance rather than confrontation. In conclusion, Landline is a masterful blend of emotional depth, psychological tension, and intricate narrative design. It challenges viewers to confront universal truths about love, loss, and inevitability, while enveloping them in a foreboding cinematic experience that lingers long after the credits roll. The film's refusal to conform to genre expectations makes it a standout entry in Nigerian cinema and the thriller genre as a whole.